I've never heard of these people before, but I'll check them out now. I've always been on the fence about HT, but now I support them. I've been debating HT for the last 30 years, but with this ridiculous ban, where do I sign up? These are some tweets that I've seen after the UK Home Secretary revealed plans to ban Hizb ut-Tahrir Britain this week. Talk about unintended consequences. Every time a cornered politician tries to ban HT, they become popular again. That's what happens when you come up with a policy in a state of panic without consulting experts or thinking it through. Some of the UK elites are so desperate to distract attention away from Israel being dragged to The Hague for genocide that it hasn't even been a week and they've already bombed a sovereign nation and tried to ban non-violent groups, condemning Israel and calling on Muslim states to act in defense of Palestinians. People have been using words like panic, up against the ropes, and crisis to describe the apparently frantic actions of those doing Israel's bidding, both in the US, here, and occupied Palestine, three regions of the world that are increasingly marginalized on the international stage in lieu of a burgeoning global south, shifting the levers of power away from former colonial powers. Have they lost the narrative and PR battle so badly that they're resorting to such extreme measures? Are we witnessing the final throes of the last European apartheid colony in the Middle East? Even disgraced anti-Muslim characters who've been enemies of HT for years have come out of the woodwork, scratching their heads and criticizing the Home Secretary. Why didn't you consult us first, they're crying out. This undermines our real anti-terrorism work. Not to mention fair-minded non-Muslim people who are serious about civil liberties and free speech, who have expressed surprise and concern over such a reckless move, from professors to diplomats to the average Joe. We're reminded of the calls of people like the UK's independent review of terrorism legislation, Max Hill Casey, when he suggested that terrorism laws should be scrapped because they don't even go after those who actually carry out or support real terrorism, since those people are routinely charged and prosecuted under existing laws that we've had for over a century. What you get instead is politically or ideologically driven politicians using these laws to ban people they don't like, or whose ideas they're unable to challenge without coercion. That's only raising the profile of HT, and that's why so many people are putting aside their differences and speaking out. Debacles like these really show you who really cares about free speech and who the hypocrites are, who complain about political correctness when it comes to their own racism, for example, but are silent when actual free speech is stifled and they hand more and more rights to an already bloated ruling class. I hate to say I told you so, but in 2015 when the Prevent Duty guidance was released and we took the government to court over it, I mentioned one thing in interview after interview. If any government develops a taste for arbitrarily restricting the speech of non-violent, non-criminal individuals or organizations whose views they don't like, it's only a matter of time before that circle of inexpressible opinion is broadened to include more and more people. And that's exactly what has happened since then. We've seen the anti-terrorism discourse broadening to affect anti-fracking demonstrators, animal rights activists, and even people complaining about drag queens setting up their kids' primary schools. So to those who are silent or even supporting the erosion of the rights of Muslim groups that they didn't like, serves you right if they come after your rights to speak out against policies you don't like. That's why whenever one person or group is attacked unjustly or their God-given rights are violated, we put aside our differences and stand up against those violations. Because number one, we have some principles, and number two, I hope that we're not foolish enough to remain silent in the face of erosion of our rights until it finally ends up on our doorstep and there's no one left to defend us. That's why we're proud to be part of an online rally condemning the Home Secretary's crackdown on dissent and standing in solidarity with our brothers and sisters who've been wronged. See you there, inshallah.